But, John Rocha, if you and others like you want to blame someone else, then look in the mirror and blame yourself. Because as Marvel, Lucasfilm, Disney, and the rest of Hollywood became further and further detached from reality and the audience of the world, you were there to cheer them on every step of the way and to silence and ridicule everyone who spoke common sense. When Captain America Brave New World was released, Bob Iger claimed Marvel had turned the page and were back. And then it fell 68% in its second weekend, which is another way of saying it fell off a cliff, which put an immediate end to that narrative. Then for Thunderbolts, Iger claimed pretty much the same thing. Marvel was now about quality over quantity, and Thunderbolts was the first example of this bold new quality direction. Yet few showed up for it, resulting in Thunderbolts outright flopping. Now, most recently for Fantastic Four, not Bob Iger, but Kevin Feige, as well as a whole slew of pundits, who may or may not be doing influencer work, all proclaimed that Marvel is back. And then Fantastic Four 2 collapsed Brave New World style in its second weekend, because while the reception was polarized, it would appear that unlike the pundit class, the majority of actual viewers had a negative reaction to the movie, as they did not come back for seconds or recommend their friends and family check it out for the first time. Which is how movies drop 67% from one weekend to the other. I, of course, blame this on DEI and girl boss fatigue, as female centricity and forced, unnatural diversity taking precedence over character and story is what caused the audience to lose faith and confidence in the Marvel brand. That is 100% on the executives who demanded all this DEI and on the creatives who executed it in such a ham-fisted way the audience recoiled from. For the Fantastic Four, that translates to that the presence of the female Silver Surfette alone was enough to ruin the movie, even though it has far deeper issues than that as well, all of which are also the fault of the executives at Marvel and Disney and their creatives, many of whom can arguably be labeled as toxic. Indeed, I have argued for years that the problem within the genre sphere of entertainment isn't so-called toxic fans, but toxic creatives. Still, you have some pundits, who may or may not be influencers, who are desperate to shift the blame away from where it so rightfully belongs and onto their preferred scapegoat, the audience. That Park Place did a write-up on this, titled Influencers in Full Meltdown, as Fantastic Four First Steps box office plummets in second weekend flop. Which reads, while the movie has held onto the #1 spot at the box office, the sharp decline, far steeper than compatible superhero films like Superman, which dropped a more modest 53% in its second weekend, has ignited a firestorm of reactions from influencers and online commentators. Many are melting down in real time on X, blaming everything from audience stupidity to superhero fatigue, while others defend the film amid cries of impending doom for the MCU. And jumping forward a bit, this precipitous fall has influencers across the spectrum losing their cool, turning X into a battlefield of despair, denial, and finger-pointing as influencers battle over whether Fantastic Four is headed for a flop. Which it is, that's beyond debate. That Park Place then proceeded to highlight a few reactions, and first among them is John Rocha, the hyper-partisan pundit of former Collider fame and who I will be focusing on here. On X, he said, some people won't want to hear this, but it might be time to stop putting all the blame on studios or creatives for underperforming movies. It might be time to start looking at the intelligence level of moviegoers. If a phenomenally stupid film like Jurassic World Rebirth can crush films like Superman and Fantastic Four at the box office, then something might be wrong with all of us, and not the studios or the creatives. This is a phenomenally stupid and navel-gazing comment right here, with a lot to unpack, so let's do so presently. First off, we've spoken a lot about how James Gunn's Superman is underperforming internationally, but the fact of the matter is that Fantastic Four is performing no better internationally than it. Yes, the international to domestic box office ratio may be a tad higher for Fantastic Four than for Superman, but not so much that it makes a lick of difference when the absolute numbers are so much lower. Both Superman and Fantastic Four are underperforming domestically, though Superman is doing better, and both are underperforming even worse internationally. No, I don't agree that that has much to do with Trump, because if it did, Jurassic World would have been similarly afflicted, and it isn't. While Rebirth may underperform by Jurassic standards, it is still outperforming both Superman and Fantastic Four, especially internationally. Question is, why? Well, let's do something John Rocha would never do, and admit why audiences have abandoned comic book movies in particular. Which I submit is because more than any other big screen genre, comic book movies went woke. Spearheaded by the MCU or MCU, comic book movies went all in on DEI, girl bosses, and forced, unnatural diversity, and proceeded to make all-out propaganda that audiences worldwide found to be repugnant and repelling. And so, the audience of the world started tuning out, and the garbage programming on Disney Plus only compounded that. That's the real problem right there, and it afflicted comic book movies worse than any other genre. That's why Jurassic World is doing better all over the world. Sure, it may be dumb, it may have women and diversity in it, but it also has dinosaurs, which makes up for a lot. And most importantly, it hasn't trained the audience of the world to associate the entire genre it belongs to with all-out propaganda and messaging the world audience, for the most part, recoil from. That, John Rocha, is the real problem here, and that problem is 100% on the executives and the toxic creatives, for forcing values from the Hollywood bubble upon the rest of the world, and the rest of the world aren't having them, because those values are completely divorced from all reality. But, John Rocha, if you and others like you want to blame someone else, then look in the mirror and blame yourself. Because as Marvel, Lucasfilm, Disney, and the rest of Hollywood became further and further detached from reality and the audience of the world, the more and more insane and out there the messaging they pushed. You were there to cheer them on every step of the way and to silence and ridicule everyone who spoke common sense. Like, this is how Rocha reacted to a critical question about pronounced and open activist Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy being announced to direct the Ray movie, and low-key promising to bring her activism to it.
I swear to God, men, reach down into your pants, find your fucking balls and your cock, and be okay with it. We can take a woman directing a film in Star Wars and live. We're all gonna fucking survive. I swear to God, you guys want to come off like you're tough motherfuckers, and you're a bunch of wusses. That if a woman can't direct a Star Wars film, you lose your ass. Or that she says she wants to craft it from a woman's point of view. And yes, she went further and said, I like to make men uncomfortable. I enjoy making men uncomfortable because she wants to put shit out there for us to confront.
This is where John Rocha should have pushed back hard against Disney and Lucasfilm and lashed out at them, not the audience, letting them know that this choice of director guarantees the movie will be a propaganda piece, which will kill the Star Wars franchise even more dead than it already was, as no one wants a sequel to the sequel trilogy in the first place, let alone with an activist director. But nope, instead he attacked and gaslit the audience for having a perfectly normal and healthy reaction to an activist director, using the straw man excuse that the backlash was because she was a woman, which it wasn't. So, John Rocha, if you want to blame someone else in addition to the executives and toxic creatives for the downfall of the MCU and for Jurassic World Rebirth outperforming both Fantastic Four and Superman, look in the mirror and blame yourself and every other pundit like you, Because you enabled those executives and toxic creatives who in their toxicity destroyed the biggest entertainment brands in history. Now, question is for you. Do you agree the likes of John Rocha are also to blame here? Or am I taking it too far? Let me know in the comments.